I want to point out these are all survivors that I've connected with over the years, and I've talked about Hope here. That was not a real name. Here she is at after she accepted Jesus and trying to build her life back together. The physical damages, even in the bad photo, hopefully you can see. But again, God was with her through it all. And this beautiful harmony, again, mentally growing, using her to build her own nonprofit, recovering with Jesus, giving her life and love and meaning and purpose that was always there, but now she knows it. Relationally, a survivor with her children, being able to raise her children, love her children as best as she can, just like the rest of us, healing her relationally, emotional, Martha, playing her violin again for others at an event, which she hadn't played since she was a child. She was so blessed in so many ways to be able to do that. Again, God restoring her, making her whole. Spiritual. My dear friend April, such an anointed woman as a speaker, singer. She has so many gifts, just so blessed, and running her own nonprofit. God does all of these things. He is a good, good God.
My name is Harmony Death, and I worked in the sex industry as a stripper for 3 years. I was exposed to pornography for the first time when I was 3 years old by a male relative. I didn't know what I was looking at, but there was something about it that just made me feel like uncomfortable and ashamed. And I knew that I wasn't supposed to be seeing it. Those images were ingrained in my mind for years to come. And at the age of 5, I was sexually abused for the first time that I can recall. And then I continued throughout my life being sexually abused by multiple people, both men and women. One of my abusers was my mom's boyfriend. And this is when I was 13. And I told my mom about what had been happening. And actually, I didn't have to tell her because she saw it with her own eyes. I mean, he would come on to me in front of her, and I'm 13. I finally said, listen, either he goes or I go. I can't put up with this any longer. And I ran away from home and I stayed with a friend for a while and told her family about what was going on. And her mom actually called my mom and said, she's not going back to your house unless he leaves. And so finally, my mom agreed that she would tell her boyfriend to leave our house. So I went back home, and very shortly after that, she actually left too. And so she left me at 13 alone with my 8-year-old brother for 3 months to fend for ourselves. And she left us with a book of food stamps and $20. Just that's it. That's all we had. And it was during that time that I really became connected to one of the older boys in the neighborhood. He stepped in and just basically was like, I'm going to protect you. I'm going to take care of you. You know, he would take us and he would buy us food. And I lived in a neighborhood with a lot of gang violence. And so he's just like, if anybody tries to mess with you, you just tell him, like, you use my name. It was what I wanted and was longing for, was just that male presence and that kind of father figure. I just became insanely attached to him and decided that I was going to do whatever it took to keep him from leaving me. And so at 15, I started giving him whatever money I had. And then 17, I was stealing money from the register at work to fully support him. And then by the time I was 19 years old, I was over $35,000 in debt and on the brink of bankruptcy. That's when someone suggested that I become a stripper. And I was like, no way. Like, are you kidding me? Like, why would I do that? And when I told him about it, it was like, bingo. I don't know. Like it seemed like he'd just been waiting for the moment, the opportunity. But I still didn't want to do it. And at that time I was going to junior college. There was a professor there that I really admired and respected. And he was a young guy and he had a PhD and he was where I wanted to go. And so when people started suggesting that I become a stripper, I decided that I was going to take this idea to him to see what he thought about it. So I set up an appointment to meet with him. I went to his office and told him the whole thing. Like, I'm having financial problems. I didn't tell him about the boyfriend. By this point, that relationship was physically abusive, emotionally abusive. Like, it was horrible. It was really horrible. But I didn't mention that. I just told him about the financial troubles and so on and so forth. And that someone is telling me I should be a stripper. What do you think? And I just remember he said, I don't see a problem with it. It's not like you have to put it on your resume. And so after that, I was like, well, okay. I mean, I don't really have any excuses left. And I didn't have enough of a sense of self or self-esteem to think I'm better, on my own. I went and auditioned to work in a strip club and, got hired on the spot. When I went to work the first night at the club, terrified, absolutely terrified. And I walked up to the DJ booth to get my songs for my set for stage. Remember, he asked me, what do you want your name to be? And I mean, it hadn't occurred to me to make up a fake name, so I just said Harmony, I guess. And I remember watching him write on the whiteboard behind him my name in the list of girls that was going to be dancing. And it was just too much for me to see that in black and white like that. And I just said, no, take it down. I'll be Monique. That's basically what I did is I created this whole character, Monique. And over time, I became Monique and I really started to lose sight of who Harmony was. So I worked in the strip club for 3 years. And I mean, I thought I was only going to do it for a couple months, just like a lot of girls who get into this stuff. I just thought I'm going to pay off some bills. I'm going to get in, get out. I became so stuck there and so angry. And so I signed up for a ballet class. That is where I met my friend who invited me to church. And, I didn't want to go with her. Like, church is the last place I wanted to go. I thought if there was a God, and I wasn't convinced that there was, that he wouldn't like someone like me. So why would I want to go to church? She just loved me. And we'd go to coffee, hang out, and listen to music. And like she's a Christian and she's normal. Like I don't know what I was expecting, but not her. Just because I got a glimpse into her life and I saw something that was missing in my life. And I finally took her up on her offer to go to church. I thought, well, maybe it has to do with that. Maybe it's that. And so I went with her and I remember walking in and I just felt like I was home for the first time. So I didn't know much, but I knew I wanted to keep coming back and I did. Almost every time the doors were open, I was at church. And so I just started learning about God and his love for me. And just the more I learned the truth, the more impossible it became to live in a way that contradicted it. I was on my way to work at the club and I had been praying the whole way, like, God, give me a way out, show me. I didn't know how I was going to do it. Like, I was making all this money and I was giving every dime of it away. I didn't have any savings. I had 2 apartments, 2 cars. I mean, it was like water through my fingers. I had nothing to show for my time in the industry and all these bills. And I just couldn't see how I could possibly leave. And I showed up to the club that night and I remember being on stage and just feeling like naked for the first time. And I never felt naked before. I've been naked for 3 years. I never felt naked though. I felt like if I had a fig leaf, I would want to use it to cover myself. Like, and I just try to shake it off because I just told myself, no, you got to go out there and make money. You can't, I don't have time for this. I got to make money. And I remember I went out onto the floor and I was just about to lean over and tap a man on his shoulder to offer him a table dance. And the song Purple Rain came on. And I had auditioned to that song 3 years prior. And so I literally took a step back. Like I took a step back and it was like my eyes were opened. I woke up. I woke up and I looked around and I'm like, where am I? Like, how did I get here? I literally felt like I had been sleepwalking. Like it was, I've been looking at these images. I've been looking at the strip club for 3 years. I had been in that place. There was nothing about it that was unusual that night, except for the fact that today, on that day, I opened my eyes and I saw for what it was. And all these images that I had seen for that whole time, they just looked different to me. And I just remember thinking like, I can't do this anymore. Like I cannot do this. And I cried out to God. I was so scared to leave. And I just said, God, how can I quit? How can I quit? And I remember I just felt him speak to my heart. I'm not going to let you down. Like, trust me. I'm not going to let you down. And I went directly up to my manager And I told him I'm leaving. He's like, what are you talking about? Like, do you need a night off? I was like, no, I'm leaving and I am not coming back here. And he was shocked. Like, he couldn't believe it. Like, I just remember the look on his face. He was stunned. And I went in the dressing room and I literally told the girls my clothes were for sale. And I started selling my clothes right there on the spot because I didn't want an opportunity to go back. I wanted to cut off all the ties that I had. And I remember the girls, they looked at me and they're like, you're not leaving. No one leaves. You'll be back. You'll be back. So after I woke up to my purpose, I just started making different choices. And I, one of the first things I did was cut off the relationship with the abusive boyfriend. And he had been in my life for so long. And for so long, I thought that I couldn't live without him. Like, if you had told me before then that I was going to break up with him, I would have told you you're crazy. I mean, I thought I was in it till the day I die. So I didn't need to find my identity in him anymore. And I remember it was on the day of my baptism. And I just wanted a new start, fresh start in life. And, you know, this whole idea, like, I am a new creation, all things of old have passed away. I wanted those things to pass away. To the payphone, and I called them up and said, you know what? It's over. I'm not supporting you anymore. I can't have you in my life anymore. Please don't try to contact me because if you do, I'll just have to change my number. And I remember he said, I don't understand. And I was like, you don't have to understand. You just have to accept it. And I just hung up the phone. And that was it. Like, I was so done. And I was okay. Like, I lived. I was okay.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
I was so done. And than I have ever felt in my life. Okay? I went through a season of recovery and, went to counseling with a Christian counselor and went to support groups and, just anything recovery oriented they offered at my church, I went to. And eventually it got to the point where I was less focused on myself and my recovery, and I could start really focusing on other women and other people and how God might want to use the pain in my past. And I remember one night I was driving by the strip club that I used to work at, and I was praying for the women inside. It's great to pray, and I had always prayed for them, but I knew it was time to do something more than just pray. And I literally felt like I was standing outside of a prison that had held me captive, and I wanted to do something to reach the women inside. And I found a stack of postcards that I had actually received at a God Chicks conference. And on the front of them, it said her value is far above rubies and pearls. And I thought that's the exact message that I would want to communicate to the women working in the club, that they are valuable, that they're loved, and that they're purposed. And so I wrote little handwritten notes on the back of the postcards and I put them on the cars of the girls because I knew where they parked. And it was just from the idea that Treasures was birthed. And today, Treasures is a 501c3 nonprofit organization providing mentoring and counseling and support and outreach services to women working in the sex industry. And just like my friend who came alongside me and loved me right where I was at unconditionally and never tried to be the Holy Spirit for me, always trusted the Holy Spirit's work in my life. That's what we do for the women. We don't go in there and tell them they have to change and, give them some kind of, blueprint for what they need to look like so that they'll be accepted by Jesus. But we go in there and tell them that they are loved, they are valued, and that they are purposed, and that God has a plan for their life, and He loves them right where they're at, right in this moment that He loves them. And we know that that is a message that transforms lives because it transforms hearts and it transforms minds.
Welcome back to Module 6. What does restoration look like? Understanding the steps to long-lasting restoration. And so we're at the top of the mountain, but giving you a few little details here of how we do things. I'll be clear that recidivism and relapse is expected, and it is hard, especially the longer they're with us, the harder it is when they choose to leave or choose to stop or decide they're good enough or whatever reasons they tell us or say why they must leave. It's because they're not healed. It's because it's too hard and they rather settle and go back to what they're used to. Change is hard. Healing is hard. Truth is truth. It's either deal with the truth now or ignore it and suffer consequences longer. And that's what it is. But it's free will and choices. We can't force people to change. And then this screen is a reminder, which we'll go into, is that we are body, soul, and spirit. And then we have the heart as well. And so all these pieces, they're not set. We can't just, here's the potty, let's deal with that, right? The government provides you the telephone, a home, and food. Good, your body. But what's it doing for your heart? What's it doing for your unconscious mind, your conscious mind? It's helping a little because maybe you're feeling a little safe, or at least you're not starving, right? But it's not really healing. It's providing a need, which is lovely. But so our heart again is to deal in tandem with all of these pieces together, supporting the whole person. And a reminder that when she is close to change, it's the most scariest, most beautiful, most awkward, as a survivor said to us. Here, take a listen, Dr. Robin Brown.
It feels like if you're a seminary grad or a theologian, why do you think the Christians are the biggest skeptics of their own story?
I'll go back a little bit to my private practice. So I have a biblical studies degree in psychology, a master's in psychology, and my PhD is in quantum energy medicine and alternative medicine. So my modality is body, soul, and spirit kind of all together, and we can't separate them really well. Emotional things can cause physical pain, so we want to look at all of it at once. So part of, I would say, over the past 10 years for me, where I was already primed for a lot of this stuff of questioning the narrative, like I didn't vaccinate my kids because I questioned, did research. And so always been a critical thinker. So I think for me, because a big part of what I do with the average person is go and find limiting beliefs that you've created in states of heightened emotion in your subconscious. We're like icebergs, so about 95% of us is our subconscious. And from a quantum understanding, our thoughts and beliefs are really our faith, right? Hebrews 11. And so essentially what the law of attraction says is whatever I believe to be true is what I'll attract in my life. And so I wrote the first iteration of my book in 2013 because I'm like, all of this quantum physics stuff is in scripture. It's all Bible. And so God took me down this road.
So that's just a taste of some things to come. And how do we restore boundaries, resilience, being authentic, and strength based? Strength based is, again, that's where we can point out and encourage, ooh, great job. So proud of you. And look, that is something God put in you. That's how He made you. But again, all the things that you can't do, that's why you need Him still. So, how do we build resilience? It's foster meaningful, positive relationships, talking about emotions regarding the negative events. Give unconditional love, acceptance, safety, normalize and validate feelings. Again, not saying everything they say is truth because a lot of it is true, but again, it's filtered through their brokenness. So there's pieces that are missing. So I never say that they're lying, except for sometimes, because yes, they do lie. They lie a lot, actually. But that's another topic. So anyhow, it's about survival. Promoting resilience, encouraging survivors to develop meaningful relationships, ability to make meaning out of experiences, conflict resolution skills. Again, living in the home, yes, it is safety, but they got to learn how to live with all of us. Yeah, so there is conflict all the time and choices and things to learn and walk through. Opportunities to develop skills and abilities. Opportunities to express emotions in a variety of ways. Yeah, if they want to walk out, go to the room and slam the door. They got to yell for a minute and rah, and even curse. That's where they're at. Okay. When are you ready to talk? Again, right? It's not demanding they do things in a certain way. It's meeting where they're at, allowing for opportunities for them to learn new ways of processing and expressing things. Sense of humor. It is good to laugh. Laughter is so good. I love to laugh, but I'm so focused on the serious all the time, I forget. And like, there's one person on my staff early on, I told her, you know what, don't forget to make sure we do fun things and bring humor because I'm going to be directed, and humor is helpful. Just being together and laughing about just silly little things makes life lighter too. Strength-based approach is, again, knowing what our strengths are, what our abilities and the skills that God created and gave to us. Positive coping skills, and then the new skills we get to add on and learning new things and how positive and how helpful that is. And the survival skills that they had, how they will play out in being useful in life, not manipulation, but reading people, understanding people, not lying, but knowing that people need us to communicate. Oh, and I'm realizing you're looking at just the content, and I'm sorry. I feel like you're staring at a screen. I'm so sorry. I forgot to switch that back. Um, let's see. Seeing the positive amidst the problem. So looking for that, helping them look for it. Constant encouragement, affirmation, support, hope, right? All these things are good and helpful to help them be restored to who God made them to be. And how do we support? These are all the ways that we do this. Now we're going to dive in a little bit deeper just for a moment, not too much. That's another training, but here is a little bit more of what is this inner healing deliverance and why do we need them both?
Deliverance casts demons out. Inner healing heals wounds. Here's the difference. Deliverance casts out demons, but inner healing heals the wounds that let them in. Think of it like this. Deliverance takes out the trash, and then inner healing closes the door so it doesn't pile back up. Both are biblical, both are needed. Deliverance.
And that is so true. And hopefully that resonated from what we've shown you previously with Bob Larson and Vlad. There's parts. We'll discuss what parts are later, but parts, well, inner healing and deliverance. There's parts of our personality. Not that we're all, not everyone has DID, which is multiple personalities, but we have parts of us, right? We have wounded parts, we have healed parts, we have parts that love to do sports, we have parts that love to do other things. But it's all us. But they're not all part of the original design, like the striving, the perfectionism. That is us trying to live separate from God. Anyhow, I digress, but let me come back. So we all have wounds. They have wounds. There's repentance and renouncing. Forgiveness is huge for themselves, for others, for layers upon layers of forgiveness. Scripture says, forgive 70 times 7. Love your enemies. Ooh, think about that for them. It applies to all us humans and them. And I've seen them do it, and it blows my mind. When I have a survivor cry and tell me she loves her father and forgives him after the many snippets of things that she's told me that he's done to her and done with her, blows my mind. Because, again, you can only forgive that with Jesus. I wouldn't want to forgive. I want to retaliate. I want to destroy him. But what does God say? What does God want? And they do, and they can with Jesus. And it is the most beautiful, craziest thing to watch and be a part of. As I said, how I feel about it, but how I have to keep my feelings out of it because I'm not involved. And my feelings would not help her in that situation. And I want her to obey Jesus, and I want to obey Jesus. But that is what I felt. Inner healing deliverance also is about accepting Jesus' love and his truth, bringing that into the circumstance, bringing that into the trauma and what happened in those moments. Where was he? What was he doing? And he does reveal those things, and that can be very beautiful as well. So Jesus is the foundation. The Bible, Jesus, Holy Spirit's the foundation of this ministry. This is his. We're just all part of it. I would say the next layer, how we describe it, is inner healing. That's what everything, even using the books, the mentors, the training, it's all really tied to inner healing. Bringing in truth, exposing the darkness, shining the light on the darkness, letting them make a choice. Do they want to hold on to the darkness? Do they want to stay in the darkness? Or will they choose the light? Will they choose the truth? Will they go towards the truth, even though it's hard because that means they have to make different choices and let go of things? But that is the second layer foundation of what Redeem and Restore Center Ministries is about. If you decide to be a coach, a mentor, lead classes, we have classes on trauma, forgiveness, Bible studies, life skills, boundaries, creative arts, exercise, self-care, prayer, learning to listen to the Holy Spirit. Again, teaching them how to live in 2 years. Yeah, it's a lot, but it's building a foundation, beginning a new journey. Um, and I gonna go back to that 2 years. It is not a set 2 years. It is based on the individual, and a lot would be able to leave within 2 years, and there are some that won't. It'll take longer, but that's okay. It's because of the amount of trauma, ritual abuse, usually, and the younger they were, the longer and harder it will be to heal. All right. Not that I endorse this woman, but she just explains a little bit about releasing trauma from the body, talking about some physical things.
What type of trauma really can get held in our bodies?
All sorts. So that phrase psychosomatic is that all the various emotions that we can feel can end up showing up as physical symptoms in our body. I actually think we have as much access to generational healing as we do to generational trauma. So think about what our ancestors did when they didn't really have resources spare to have fun, right? But they danced, they drummed, they chanted, they hummed, they sang, they painted. These physical activities are actually really good for us and can help us to release some of that stored trauma. So I'd love people to go away with that message that, yes, you might have stored trauma that talking therapy hasn't completely got rid of, but there are things that you can do at home. You don't have to pay for a massage. You can do self-massage, you can take a bath, you can dance around your living room, and all of these things could also help you to release that kind of trauma.
You probably see now why I say I don't endorse her, and I did not write chanting as an option. But everything else she was saying, again, that's a reality. It's the understanding of how parts of helping us heal. So going to the beach to swim, to have fun, to go to a concert, to interact with people, to play, to exercise. And exercise is another whole layer of releasing different hormones and things in our body besides movement. Well, actually, it is with movement that helps us heal as well. So physical activities are part of the healing. As you see on your screen, Transition to Hope. This is from Dr. Becca Johnson, and I love this. It's just breaks it down in these general areas of this progression of healing, and these are things that we do help them and walk them through as well. Is learning what is truth about them, about the world, about others, things that they did believe. Dealing with these overwhelming feelings, processing these feelings. What is true? What isn't true? I can bring my feelings to Jesus as well. And he can help them, help me, help them not be so overwhelmed, help me release things to him. Thinking through of making choices. What do I want to do? What do I want to take hold of? How do I want to use this information? And then sharing, beginning to share their life, their experiences, their truth with others without just vomiting out all their junk, but to protect themselves, that everyone doesn't deserve to know all their hurt and all their shame, that they can be selective in how they use what they want to share for a purpose and a point, that they don't have to share everything to get people to care about them, and they don't have to keep everything locked up to have people care about them. And then learning how to live, hence life skills, hence healing, truth, having a clean heart, beginning to transform that heart. This is how we help them. In your packet on page 23, you will see stabilization. It typically is a 30 to 90 day stay or longer. Usually not longer anywhere else, but with us. And the stabilization they had before was 30 days at a homeless shelter. That helped a little bit of like, yes, they had somewhere they weren't laying on the street, but other than that, it didn't bring much else stabilization. They could have just gritted their teeth and held on tight to hold on till they could get to us. Or they just came out of a 30-day detox program and it was all about just getting this stuff out of my body, a few things in your head, and all right, gritting teeth and hoping we can make it. And they're not ready for the community living, the long-term restoration yet. Too many triggers at once, too much having to deal with so many other people's stuff and having to be part of all these things that make getting stabilized, getting grounded a little bit harder, especially with those that have DID and those who have SRA. They will be in the stabilization process a much longer time. It could be a year. Again, we'll still have coaching, we'll still have classes, but it'll be more one-on-one. There'll be some community stuff together, learning some life skills, cleaning up, preparing for themselves, taking cleaning up behind themselves, that kind of thing, but just helping them with all the voices, the layers, the trauma, and keeping them safe, and then allowing others who are further along or haven't endured SRA to continue on their path of healing without being held back because of the constant disruption or stopping of classes or not having a class because of what's going on with another resident. And again, these are things that we've walked through and learned already, and we want to serve both. And also, it's not like there's a sign on them or that they all know, or a lot are not willing to share or want to keep that locked up, that they are DID or SRA. So we don't know that when they come, but this through the process of living with them, doing their care plans, we learn these things and walk out these things with them. And so hence the two separate areas of care. And then again, do they still want hope? Will they stay there long enough to go to the next place? Because maybe this was just another pit stop of survival and they're like, yep, I'm good now. I can go back and I can make it. I don't need you people. Because that's still a real thing too. Because the supportive living program and housing that would come after it is about safety still and is around 2 years. We help connect them to resources like legal assistance, medical needs, but we teach them about self-care, coaching, mentorship, inner healing, deliverance throughout their stay, life skills throughout their stay, again, that conflict resolution, educational needs, dreaming, planning, again, with that care plan that we work with them, the team and them together in forming their goals. What is her goals? What does she want to accomplish? The short-term goals for this season, and the next short-term goals, and helping them. So trauma focused, emotional recovery with that spiritual foundation in all these areas to help them build that strong foundation to begin stepping out, taking classes, going to work, and then getting their own place or however that looks for each individual. We have these things too, just to reiterate for you. Long-term healing requires that the girls understand what they have experienced is not their fault. I mean, obviously some things are their fault and that will come up and they work through, but majority of what got them there was not their fault. So many of them, their family members, social workers, law enforcement believe it was their choice. Those on the outside, right? Those that weren't involved will say, believe it was their choice because they don't understand. It's just ignorance. And I want to say again, illusion of choice. Even when they made choices in the middle of all of it, most of it was an illusion of choice. They felt it was their only choice, or it was that or death. And okay, well, maybe I'll do this longer before I decide to kill myself or let death happen. Illusions of choice. Survival is what they've done. So that perspective keeps them stuck in that belief that they are inherently dirty, loose, or bad, that there is no hope for her and she might as well go back to the trafficker anyway. So again, culture, ignorance is what we're trying to change as well, so that they don't keep or take back those lies about who they are, their identity upon themselves. because we want her to learn her identity, her gifts, her personality in a home environment, professional training, mentoring, exploring various therapies, equine assisted therapy, music, gardening, all sorts of tools. And again, we need people giving their gifts and their time and their talent to help. The first two survivors that I knew and met. Stacy, I had met her when I was learning from other homes. She did a drama, and then we invited her to this event that I partnered with. And then I met April, who became a friend of mine. Again, beautiful ladies. You'd never know the hell that they've endured and gone through. So much they've walked through and overcome with their readable smiles. And April, I mentioned her earlier, or you saw her picture. I didn't say her name, I don't think. But again, she runs her own nonprofit. She is empowering and encouraging other kids. She is raising two beautiful kids that God gave her. This is what God can do. Even if we can't fully comprehend or understand the hell and the torture and the abuses that so many have felt and how they even survived. Again, how did concentration camp survivors live and start a life and live and have children? How? Some in some ways can do it without God, but still very empty and broken. With God, I'm telling you, look at them. And they are still in their journey, walking it out. With God, we can do all things. They can do all things. He makes all things new. He makes them a new creation. He transforms their heart and replaces what the enemy took and restores them to what He designed them to be. That's what you see here in this picture. We also at some point will be offering transitional safe housing and support. So like after that long-term care, while they're still going to school, while they're starting to, build up savings and money, housing at our place, but also hopefully families that will open up their home, build a relationship with them and come to an agreement of them staying there while they're building up their life, while they're continuing to grow, like the college students or the high school students need somewhere to live safe, but don't need so much structure as that we offer to continue living and to continue growing and moving forward in their life. Survivors need support services, so we will continue to have groups, classes, social outings, mentorship, coaching for women that are not in the home but have connected with us or graduated. We want to continue to encourage them in their journey. Be encouraged with this.
I said to God, and I wasn't really real spiritual. I didn't have a real good prayer life. It was very religious. And I said to him, though, I said, I don't know how to make this stop. I don't know what's going on. And so I chose to give it to him and not to look back again, to just let it go, give it to him and let it go for the sake of my family and for my sanity, because I felt crazy.
Everything didn't turn around magically for her when she surrendered, but she continued to walk out that journey with God, and she serves Him and lives with Him, again, married, has children, and is free from the hold of the enemy. Even when they surrender to God, again, it doesn't make everything perfect. It doesn't stop the trouble, and she really did have a lot more to walk through, and she has been walking through that. And I know her, and I've seen her and her husband, and they walk with the Lord. Again, she has been on a journey. And yes, she didn't come to a home, but through lots of inner healing, deliverance, and seeking Jesus, she is finding joy and freedom. Jesus redeemed, and together we get to love, restore, and support her to restoration. God is in the business of healing. I ask you to join us. Again, please email your questions, reach out to me. We can do this together. God asks us to do it. He doesn't need us, but this is His design, His crazy plan to use us, these fallible, broken people, and helping other broken people find the hope. Walking out this journey with Christ is that I am a new creation, but sometimes I still act like my jacked up, broken self because I still am, but there's more parts to surrender, to heal, that He'll transform. And it's the same for all of us. I'm inviting you. Over a 13-year journey has been full of difficulties, full of hardships, full of beautiful things of learning of myself, learning about others, learning about life. And in the last 5 years, exponentially harder, but exponentially more beautiful. I am more in awe of God than I ever have been in my life. I am more in love with God every day than I've ever been in my life. There is no greater joy to walk out the steps that He has ordered for me. And I want that for you as well. So, regardless of serving with Redeeming Store or not, I encourage you and urge you, be intentional in keeping Him first. Be intentional in seeking Him. Be intentional, be hungry, reading His Word, hungry and asking Him the questions and knowing there's nothing you can hide from Him. He knows it all. So just face it and be real with Him and walk it out with Him. Trust Him. It is a beautiful, beautiful journey, a privilege and an honor to understand we are part of the one true kingdom. And I thank you for taking out a lot of your time to walk through this training with me. Have an awesome day.